They gave me 14 ships, 4 of them couldn't hold pressure, 2 had no working weapon systems. The Galactic Council watched the ceremony on live feed and laughed. I know because the translator picked it up. They thought it was a funeral. They weren't entirely wrong. The Veth ambassador called it a gesture of good faith. 14 vessels, decommissioned from 4 different fleets, assembled in Dock 7 like a collection of expensive mistakes. I walked the line of them in the cold. The Meridian had a hull fracture patch with the alien equivalent of duct tape. The Ardent's port engine array was held together with cargo clamps. The Resolve had no name anymore. Someone had burned it off the hull and never replaced it. I stood at the end of the dock looking at what the Council considered an adequate human military presence at the frontier. My chief engineer appeared at my shoulder, 30 years in the engine room. He looked at the ships the way he looked at everything broken, like it was a personal insult that could be fixed with enough stubbornness. He said, "Admiral, I've seen worse." I said when he thought about it, he couldn't come up with anything. He grinned anyway. The formal briefing lasted 40 minutes. A Veth Council representative, tall, pale gray, 4 arms folded in what their body language database listed as polite dismissal, explained the situation. The Keth convergence had been moving toward the outer verge for 7 months. 3 allied species had already withdrawn. The Council's combined fleet was committed at the Joral corridor. There was nothing left to send to the verge. Nothing, I said, except us. The representative paused, then it said, yes. Except you. I looked at the briefing map. 4 inhabited systems, 800 million people. The Keth would reach them in 11 days. The Council had bought us 12. I thanked the representative and left. Behind me, the translator caught something from the secondary delegation. The word it rendered was unfortunate. We worked in shifts. We slept in the dock. My chief engineer performed acts of mechanical violence on those ships, ripping out alien components, rewiring power systems in ways the original designers would have considered insane, cannibalizing 3 vessels to make 9 fully functional ones. We lost the Meridian on day 4. She held pressure for 72 hours and then didn't. Nobody was aboard. On day 6, we lost the Ardent's name too. Her registry plate fell off during a weld and we never found it. On day 8, I toured the fleet. 9 ships, all running, none of them pretty. My gunnery officer had rigged the weapons arrays in a pattern no manual had ever tried. She said, "It'll work, Admiral." I said, "How do you know?" She said, "Because I told it to." That was enough for me. On day 9, the Keth Advanced Scout found us. 1 vessel. It hailed us and delivered what the translator rendered as a formal declaration of assessment, which in Keth protocol means they have decided you are not a threat worth engaging. They were going around us. I called the fleet to battle stations. My second-in-command said, "Admiral, they're ignoring us." I said, "I know." She said, "We have 9 ships. They have hundreds behind that scout." I said, "I know that too." She said, "What are we doing?" And I told her what my chief engineer always said when someone handed him something that looked unfixable. He'd say, "The thing about broken equipment is it doesn't know it's broken, it just runs. We have 9 ships the galaxy has already written off. The Keth have decided we're not worth their time. Those 2 facts together are the most dangerous thing in this sector right now." She looked at me. Then she said, "Battle stations." I hit the Keth Advance column at the transit point between the 2nd and 3rd Verge systems. My gunnery officer's improvised targeting array had one advantage nobody planned for. It didn't behave like any weapons system the Keth had encountered. Their countermeasures were tuned for Veth fire control, for Joral targeting algorithms. They had nothing for what we were doing because what we were doing didn't exist in any database. We weren't supposed to be there. We weren't supposed to be functional. The first volley took out their forward shield array. The second hit their communications relay. By the third, they were turning not to engage, but to regroup. In Keth tactical doctrine, that means they have encountered something outside their threat assessment parameters. My chief engineer sent me one message during the entire engagement. It said, "Told you." We held the transit point for 9 days. The Keth probed us twice more and both times found the same thing. 9 ships that didn't behave like they were supposed to, crewed by people who had apparently not been informed the situation was hopeless. On day 9, the Veth fleet arrived from the Joral corridor. The battle was effectively over before they got there. The same council representative who had called our assignment unfortunate sent a formal communiqué. The translator rendered it as, "We did not anticipate this outcome." I sat in my command chair with the broken armrest we had never gotten around to fixing, and I thought about my chief engineer. He had been moved to a medical station on day 7. "Burns," he said, "typical." I wrote back to the council. I said, "We know." My second-in-command asked if I wanted to add anything else. I thought about it. I said, "Tell them we have a few ships that need work. Ask if they have a dock."